Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. So I had to get on here and do a spoiler review on the book I just got done reading. Like, I finished it last night, super late. And I'm very unwell. Like, this book literally has destroyed me. It's been a very long time since I read a book like this. Not saying that I didn't get emotional with Iron Flame when I read that earlier this year, or like when the moon hatched. That one I didn't get like a whole lot emotional, but I really liked it. But this book that I just got done reading, like, I had to talk about it with you guys. So, the book I'm talking about is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. And let me tell you, this was perfect for me to actually just get done reading, because in a couple weeks, the second one in the trilogy comes out, and I will immediately pick it up. Like, the moment it gets to my door is the moment I'm opening the cover to read it. Because Kai and Peyton, I don't even know how to describe my feelings other than I'm in distress, I'm depressed, I'm angry, I'm unwell, the chemistry that those two have, just and Lauren Roberts, like, the way she writes the angst and the pull towards, like, for both of them to have, and it being forbidden, but yet they both want it, and the banter, the flirting, it reminded me of Cassandra Clare. Because Cassandra Clare destroys me when I read her books. And I don't know if, like, I've gotten this way with some adult fantasy romances, but for some reason, I think it just hits differently with YA. And maybe it's because the author has to be more creative in how they're going to do it, how they're going to write it and portray the scene. Because, like, I mean, let's be honest, and in YA fantasies, you know there's going to be other, like, rated R things going on, but they're behind the scenes. They're not on the page. The author usually writes it up to that point, and you just having to read between the lines, knowing that, hey, they're about to do the deed, and then, like, you know, the deed is done, but you don't see the details of it. And I think that's why, like, YA for me, even though I'm 30 years old, like, it just gets me. When you have a romantasy, like a romance together, like, oh, I literally, and here's what's even worse, guys. Like, I didn't start reading this book listening to music. I started listening to music when I was about halfway through. And I think the music made it even worse for me. Worse in a good way. But, I mean, and the songs I had playing were perfect. Absolutely perfect. Okay. So, we're gonna get into it a little bit more, like, better review style, I guess, because I just had to, like, let that out. So yeah, Powerless, it's YA. It takes place in a fantasy world, where there are people, like elite people, and then there are ordinary people. The elite people have different powers. So for example, Kai, he is considered a wielder. So he can feel other people's powers and he can then wield them. So if he is around a bunch of elites, he can pick which power he wants. They have like different terms for him. So like there's a brawny, there's blooms, there's the sights. There's these things called the fatals, or the fatals. And those are like mind readers, silencers, which a silencer, basically it mutes your power. There's telekinesis, any type of power that you think of, like you have, you could have. But I guess decades ago there was this thing called the purge, and it was because the king wanted to purge his city of the ordinaries, which the ordinaries are people without powers. He brought it out as these people they've got a disease, they're going to weaken our elite society, so we need to get rid of them. So ever since then, the king has been targeting ordinaries and killing them, basically. So the king has two sons. They're half brothers. His eldest son is Kit, who has been destined to take over as king. He is the heir. And then you have Kai. Kit is the oldest brother. You have Kai, who is the youngest brother, and he has been trained to be the enforcer. And basically, as the enforcer, he does the king's bidding. He enforces the king's law, and if the king sends him out on a mission, which a lot of those missions are him going out and killing people, then he goes and he does that. He doesn't question, he just does. So Kit is supposed to be the nicer one, the more gentle one, the more fair one, and Kai was born to be a monster. And Kai says that himself, like, he is a monster. He was born and raised to have no feelings, to not care, to do what he's told, and to like it. And so he cares for people. He cares for his brother. He cares for his mother. And then he cares for a couple other people that he has grown up with. But other than that, he's got this cocky facade going on. And you've got that throughout the whole book. Well, then you have Peyton Gray. She saw her father get killed when she was 13 years old. She ran away and has been living in this part of Ilya, which is where this kingdom is, called Loot, for 5 years. She's had to steal to get by. And I mean, she's pretty good at it. Her father trained her to fight, to survive. And with that, he trained her to lie about being an elite. She says that her power is a psychic. And she does a very, very good job of proving that she is. But that's just her, being observant, thinking quick on her feet. And she's cocky. She says how it is. She's not afraid to tell you what she thinks. She's not afraid to stand out. But at the same time, she doesn't want to stand out because she doesn't want people to find out what she is, because it's a death sentence. So in this book, you've got, they call it the purging trials. So to me, it kind of reminded me of like the Hunger Games, because, in the Hunger Games, when the 13 districts rose up and the capital was able to basically win, they created the Hunger Games. And 2 people from each district go to these games and they die. So in these trials, these happened because of the purging. And I think this was the 6th purging. This is the 6th annual purging trial, and they did like a purge 6 years ago, I guess, or 7 years or whatever. So then they created these trials, and it's young people trying to win these trials, and they get money, that they get that glory or whatever. So basically the people pick who they want to represent them, especially in Loot and I think a few other places. But a lot of the elites that participate are higher up. They're part of nobility. I mean, Kai is in these trials this year, and it's because his father basically said, you will win these trials. This is another test for you, and if you don't win, I'm going to be disappointed, basically, is what he says. So Kai has no choice but to win. But you've got 7, I think, that start out in these trials. And they all stay at the palace. They all stay at this one wing. And so Peyton gets selected for these trials after she saves Kai. Kai's down in Loot, just finishing a mission that his father put him on. And Peyton sees him, doesn't know it's a prince, just sees the money bag that is hanging off of his belt. So she sees him as a target and wants to steal from him. She successfully does. And, right then and there, Kai has this connection to her, and you can tell. But then he's still, after that encounter, he's walking away, and then other people are like, hey, I'm going to try to steal your money bag from you. And then a silencer comes in, and Kai literally can't do anything. So Peyton feels something, and she's just like, I'm gonna regret this, but she goes and she saves him. And because of that, the people of Loot have selected her to represent them in the trials. And she goes to the palace, which, she's around all these nobility. She's around a couple other people that are not nobility that get selected. One of them's a total ass, which I'm he's taken care of in the second one, which is great. The second trial. But that's when it starts getting even better, because her and Kai can't stay away from her. And to be quite fair, Peyton looks for him. She can't keep her eyes off him. and Kai can't keep his eyes off her. But then Kai's brother is also intrigued with Peyton. And so, like, but Peyton, she can't look into Kit's eyes because his eyes remind her of the king. And up until the end of the book, she thinks that the king killed her father, which ultimately he did. But we find out at the end, when she and the king are facing off, that it's Kai who killed her father. And that was his first mission at 14, was to go and kill this healer in this white house. And I mean, we find out from a bonus chapter in Kai's perspective, like, what it did to him. And he didn't, like, that was his first kill. And it destroyed him. So, I don't know. I just, like, chapter 52 in this, oh, it was great. I'm gonna read you guys some lines. And if you, I mean, obviously, if you're here, because this is full of spoilers, you know. If you're not here and you just want the spoilers, well, you're gonna get them, because I can't stop. Like, I literally about restarted this book last night and I was like, no, gonna do something else. But so the first line that got me, because, like, you know, in chapter 52 it's the last ball, because the third trial's the next day, and Hayden just wants some fresh air. So the guards at first weren't letting her out. Kai makes it to where they will let her out. But then Kai follows her, but she doesn't know it right away. So then she hears, "I don't know that I ever lived before laying eyes on the likes of you." Kai, like, oh my God, I just can't. And then, of course, like, she has to be, you know, just to be smart about it. So she's like, "I'm sure you say that to all the little ladies who catch your eye." His response is, "Oh, but I only have eyes for one little lady, and I can't seem to take them off of her." I love it. And then he goes, "A forget-me-not, since you always seem to be forgetting who I am." And she goes, "Oh, I know who you are, a cocky bastard." He just goes, "I don't give a damn if you forget who I am in title, so long as you remember who I am to you." Like, he literally, and then they start, you know, she says his name, he loves it. She says his full name, Malachi. And then, you know, you keep going down, whatever. And this part, like, oh, I just love it. Like, she says, like, Kai's holding his jacket over her because she has to look up into his eyes, and it's raining outside. And so he says, "As adorable as you looked, blinking up at me in the rain, I want you to see me clearly when I tell you this. I meant what I said. I can't take my eyes off you. I can't take my mind off you." She's, like, shaking from all of this. And he goes, "Tell me, what do you want me to call you?" And she's confused by the question, so she goes, "What do you want to call me?" He said, "I want to call you mine." Like, And the song I'm having playing in this scene, like, guys, like, oh, I'm literally dying. And he says, like, I'm gonna read, like, the whole thing. He's like, I know you feel it too. And she's trying to, like, lie through her teeth, like, feel what? And he's like, feel alive, feel on fire, feel. Pay, when I look at you, I'm devastated. I'm drowning. I'm dying to catch my breath. Look at me and tell me you don't feel the same. And then she does. And then he is like, okay, now tell me again without tapping your left foot, because he knows that certain ticks that she does means that she's lying. And oh, like, they get so close to kissing, and he wants to. Oh, like, he's like, if I kiss you, really kiss you, like how I've wanted to, how I've waited to, should I expect a dagger at my throat? And then, you know, she smiles at him and whatever and says, I guess you'll have to kiss me to find out. But then the kiss is interrupted by a freaking Imperial, and I'm pissed. So, like, they're getting ready to, or whatever. The next line, oh, where's it at? Because this is the line that literally, like, I thought it was in this next one. So this line, and this line will destroy me later on. So it says, my pretty Pay, what have you done to me? Like, oh. So then you go all the way to the end. All the way to the end. This is after she kills the king. And she like has to leave her dagger, her father's dagger, and she's running, and like she's close, but then a dagger goes past her. And like it says, and yet, oh my gosh, okay. So like, okay. So it says, a knife whizzes past me, skimming my forearm with its sharp blade. I whip my head around and stumble to a stop at what I see. Every bit of his body is covered in blood. His hair is a mess of inky waves, sticky with sweat and streaked with blood. A thin blade is gripped between his fingers, his hand raised and ready to send it flying towards me. And something snaps into place at the sight of him. So that's then when, like, it really hits her. That memory, and she sees him and how, like, he killed her father and all that stuff. And like, she's like, it doesn't make him any less of a murderer. This is where, like, their attraction, the connection, the film, the familiarity that they had together. And she does all that, and then it says, and yet his knife missed me. Kai doesn't miss, not unless he wants to. And he said, what have you done to me? Like, I can't. So then that's when she remembers what he said in the courtyard the other night at the ball. My pretty Pay, what have you done to me? Like, it literally, it's like my heart is ripping out. And he's like, I should bury this blade in your throat. And she goes, then do it. He's like, I will. I should. And he's like literally fighting his head and his mind and his heart, because his heart is telling him to do one thing, and his mind and his loyalty is telling him to do the other thing. His upbringing is telling him to kill her. And he's like, why can't I do it? Why is it that when it comes to you, I'm suddenly a coward? Why is it that when it comes to you, I suddenly care? Why is it that I can't throw this damn knife at my father's killer? I told you I was a fool for you, and it seems I was right. I'm a fool when it comes to you. Kai says, maybe when I rid myself of you, I'll find my courage. So I'm giving you a head start. At least you kept your promise. You stayed alive long enough to stab me in the back. And now I promise to return the favor. Run, Peyton, because when I catch you, I will not miss. I will not falter. I will not make the mistake of feeling for you. Go. Go before I find someone who isn't a coward, someone who isn't a fool, and let them bury this dagger in your back right here, right now. Like, he's literally dying inside because he cares so much for this girl. And to come to find that she is an ordinary, that she killed his father, and that he doesn't know if what she feels towards him was a lie, even though he knows that it's not, because he felt it. So years of training and being told one thing and doing one thing is like at the forefront of what he needs to do. But then with her, he can't. He's struggling. And you can see that in, and heck, we're going to talk about it, guys. We are going to talk about it because there is a sneak peek of Reckless in this book. And it's from Peyton's perspective. She's in her house. She's been there for 4 days, 3-4 days, trying to heal, trying to get things together so that way, and get a plan so she can get out. And she's thinking about Kai. She's thinking about her father. She's thinking about the king. She's thinking about all of it. And then she hears things. And Kai and the Imperials are there. But Kai is the enforcer. They search, and he's like telling them to check this, check that, whatever. And he doesn't know that she's there. She's hiding in the chimney because that's the only place that she could hide. So she hears what he has to say. And I'm just going to read you like what he says. He goes, I imagine you pictured my face when you threw that knife. Because she threw a knife into the wall right there. And he's like, isn't that right, Peyton? Tell me, darling, do you think of me often? Do I haunt your dreams, plague your thoughts like you do mine? And she like isn't for sure whether or not at this point, like before that, if he knew that she was there or not. But she thinks like he doesn't know that she's there for certain now because he wouldn't have admitted that to her. He's talking out loud to himself. And he just literally like is walking and sighing, and she is trying not to get claustrophobic and fall down. And, you know, the Imperials come back up from that secret door. They say that there's no sign of her, anything like that. He sighs and tells them that they're useless and to get out. And the last thing he said, it's a good thing you're not here, because I still haven't found my courage. So, like, I've literally died. These two, I don't know how it's gonna end. And, you know, in the epilogue chapter with Kit, it's Kit's perspective. And I think we're going to get a little bit more of Kit's perspective in the next book, probably. But Kit because of Peyton's betrayal to him. Instead of being the fair king like he was supposed to be, he's now going to be cruel. He wants Peyton alive so that way he can do his bidding for her. Even though Kit, I think, started to fall in love with her. Kai, we already know, he's fallen deep for Peyton. Now, love hasn't been thrown out in this book for either of these boys. But you can see Kit's feelings because of his perspective. And he hasn't said he loves her, but he has fallen so deep for her that it's definitely love. He just doesn't know it yet. He hasn't come to that realization, which I'm hoping they do in the next book. I'm hoping, I don't know what I'm hoping. I want them to be together. I don't want them to have to wait until book 3 to be together. Like, I don't know. I might literally die. And the problem is, like, it's a trilogy. And the second book is just now coming out. So if I read the second book once it comes out and then it leaves me on something like that, guys, like, it's not gonna be good for my heart. Like, it's not. I'm sorry this is more of like a rambly type of spoiler review. I had to talk about the feelings. I had to talk about these lines and the way that Lauren Roberts, like, has literally ripped out my heart. And I need the next book, like, so bad. But if you, obviously, if you are here, you've probably read Powerless. Let me know what your thoughts are. Were you unwell after you read it? What did you think? I would love to know. I'd love to have the conversation in the comments. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and be good people.
When you feel it's hopeless, when you think